Hi there, Steve Kaufman here. Today I want to talk about what I consider to be three of the biggest myths about learning any language. Number one, that you have to practice speaking and focus on grammar. Number two, that you have to go to school. And number three, that it's difficult. And I'm going to do this with reference to some information that I got from Krashen. I'm still excited about having had lunch with Krashen in Riverside, California last week. And at that time, he gave me a paper which is called Can Second Language Acquirers Reach High Levels of Proficiency Through Self-Selected Reading. And in this paper, he confirms that the more we read, the better we learn and the higher our score on tests like TOEIC. And there is research to show how many hours of reading will give you what result on TOEIC. And I'm going to analyze this in more detail in a blog post at my blog. In doing research for this, because this paper was produced by Krashen and by Beniko Mason, who is an English teacher in Japan. I also Googled Beniko Mason, and here there's a very interesting paper called Self-Selected Pleasure Reading and Story Listening for Foreign Language Classrooms. And both these papers stress the basic fact that in order to acquire a language, more than anything else, you need to read, and it identifies how much you need to read. And, of course, listening is also powerful. I happen to be a great fan of listening because it helps prepare me to speak, because it's something I can do while doing other tasks. But I know that I need a lot of reading in order to acquire vocabulary. And there's a number of gems in both of these articles about how, at the early stages, most learners of language never get past the beginner or early intermediate stage. So whether those people speak absolutely correctly, whether we hound them on points of grammar that in any case are going to take a lot of exposure and practice before it's going to click in, maybe the main thing is to get those people to where they can communicate a little bit without worrying about how correctly they speak. And that's just one example. There are many more. And this is so fundamental, so important. Read and listen. And therefore, you don't need to be instructed. You don't need to be corrected. I mean, once you get to an intermediate level, the other goal of language teaching should be to make you an autonomous, independent learner. So once you reach that intermediate level through lots of reading and listening, you will more and more correct yourself, or you'll seek out some grammar explanations, or wherever you feel that there are gaps or mistakes that you keep making, you'll start to notice those if you are an autonomous and motivated learner. But to get you to that stage, rather than overwhelming you with rules, if we can get people to choose things of interest, stories, whatever they're interested in, to read and listen. I know I sound like a bit of a broken record, but it's so overwhelmingly true. And not everybody likes to read when they don't know the words, and basically that's what's behind LINK. I was the same way. I had all kinds of books in different languages. There were too many words that I didn't know. I didn't like looking them up in a dictionary, so therefore we developed LINK as a sort of an assist. But the fundamental activity is reading and listening, and that will get you to where you have a sufficient base in the language so that you can then work on the areas that you're weak in, including pronunciation. But at least you have a feel for the language, you have some vocabulary, you're not discouraged. So the three major mistakes that people make. They think they need lots of instruction, they got to worry about grammar, they got to worry about output. Not true. Second of all, that they need to go to a classroom. They don't. It can help if you don't have the motivation, but it's not necessary. And the third thing is that it's complicated. It's not complicated. It requires time and motivation. So there you go. I kind of say the same thing over again, but it's so important and so few people really grasp it. So for further information, please visit my blog. I'll be putting a post up there within the next week or so. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.